and welcome. I'm Mr Dilly, and today we are stepping into the world of gods, monsters, magical schools, quests, portals, prophecies, and heroes who may or may not be ready for the job. Welcome to Mr Dilly Meets Gods, Monsters, and Epic Adventures. Brilliant to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us. Packed show today. We got five brilliant authors coming up for you. We got short readings from them about their latest books. We've got your questions being answered, and we're building a completely, maybe ridiculous fantasy adventure together in our myth mashup right the way through the show as well, all to be revealed at the end. And later on, you'll need a paper and pencil for a mythical draw along as well, which is brilliant. So packed show today. So here we go. Let's get on with it. Part one. Here we go. So we're going to meet our guests. So sharpen your swords, everybody. And not that you should have swords, but you know what I mean. Sharpen your swords. Polish your shields. That's a bit easier. And very importantly, check your portal is working properly as we bring in our guests one by one. My first guest today is Clare Pollard. So let's bring in Clare Pollard. Clare, round of applause. It's Clare Pollard. Let me tell you something about you, Clare, which you already know, but other people might not. Clare is the author of The Untamemables and now The Othernauts, a funny, fast-paced adventure inspired by the Greek myth of Jason and the Argonauts, one of my absolute favorites. Monsters, quests, prophecies, and a brand new crew of young heroes. She's here today to talk about myths, retellings, and her latest adventure. So let's give her another round of applause. Clare Pollard is here. Okay, fantastic. All right. Good introduction there, Clare. I hope you like it.
It was great.
Next up, we have Ash Bond. Here we go. Ash is here. Round of applause for Ash. Hello, Ash.
Hello.
So Ash is the author of the incredible Peregrine Quinn series, including Peregrine Quinn, which is down there, and the Cosmic Realm, Peregrine Quinn and the Mask of Chaos. And today is here with Peregrine Quinn and the Battle for Olympus. There it is. It's a biggie. Okay. An epic fantasy adventure packed with gods, portals, danger, and a battle at the heart of Olympus itself. Another round of applause. Ash Bond. These introductions are pretty good. Okay, now we're going to bring in Ross Mackenzie. Ross Mackenzie is here. Hello, Ross. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
So Ross is the award-winning author of magical adventures, including The Nowhere Emporium, Shadowsmith, and Evernights. Today he is talking about The Uninvited, a mysterious atmospheric fantasy full of danger, secrets, and powerful magic. Another round of applause. Ross Mackenzie is here. Fantastic. Next we have, and that's packed show. I'm exhausted already. Okay, here we have Amy Sparks. Hello, Amy. Nice to welcome you. Amy is the author of magical funny adventures, including The House at the Edge of Magic, The Tower at the End of Time, and The Bookshop at the Back of Beyond. Today she's here with The Unchosen One, a fast-moving fantasy quest where the world needs a hero, but the chosen one really does not want the job. A round of applause, Amy Sparks. And last but not least, and doing our draw along later on, is Thiago de Moraes. Hi, Thiago, how are you? Nice to have you with us. So Thiago is an author and illustrator whose books include Myth Atlas, History Atlas, and Mummy Ate My Homework. That happens a lot, apparently. And Old Gods, New Tricks. Today he's here with Welcome to the School of Gods, a hilarious new adventure about a mostly normal kid who suddenly finds himself at a school for young gods. So welcome, Thiago. All the gang are here. Fantastic. Right. Now, by popular demand, we usually have this section called Book in a Blink. And because it's a mythical show today, we've called it Quest in a Flash. Look at that, pretty good. And our authors are going to have 15 seconds to talk about their entire book in 15 seconds. So let's roll the titles, and then we're going to jump into Quest in a Flash. So pretty dramatic there. So no pressure. No pressure. Okay, now I'm not sure with these things whether it's good to go first or better to go last, but we do it in order it's on my screen. I think it's the same order on your screen. So Clare, are you happy to kick this off? Okay. Yep. And when the 15 seconds are up, you're all going to get this sound, okay, which is a lovely dragon sound. Hopefully you can hear it, okay? Can you hear this? Nice and dramatic. I'm presuming you can hear that all right.
Very subtle.
So at 15 seconds, the dragon sound will come on, and that's your time to stop, okay? So, Clare, we're going to start with you. I think it's the same order on your screen. Clare, Ash, Thiago, Amy, and then Ross. The big finale is for you, sir. So, you know, exactly. That's how I'm feeling. Okay. So here we go. So, Claire, are you ready? So let's give Claire a round of applause. Give her a bit of a... Come on, Claire, you can do this. Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, on the clock, starting now. Off you go.
The Othernauts is the never before told true story of Jason the Argonauts. Only what the ancient Greek gods didn't want you to know is that it was actually three kids who helped the Argonauts get the golden fleece.
Oh, time to spare. That dragon was late to the party. That was very, very good. That was to the point, Claire. That was very, very good. Okay, now Ash. Oh, come on, Ash. Here we go. 15 seconds on the clock. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, hello, I'm Ash. I am the author of Peregrine, Quinn and the Cosmic Realm, and Peregrine, Quinn and the Mask of Chaos, and now Peregrine, Quinn and the Battle for Olympus. So, what do you do when the unthinkable happens? What do you do when the big bad returns? Well, other than panic,
Other than panic.
Panic.
Done that. This is very tense. This is very tense. Okay. Okay, we're gonna have to have a nice cup of tea on this and a biscuit. Okay, a packet of hobnobs would be good. Okay, Thiago, it's your go, my friend. Are you ready? Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, off we go.
So, hi, this is Welcome to the School of Gods. It's the first book in a new series about a human kid called Ollie who gets chosen to go to a school for gods, and he thinks it's going to be brilliant, but when he gets there, he realizes it's not. It's the worst school he's ever been in.
Very, very good. Excellent work. Okay, very, very good. It's that moment, is it? Because you're sort of waiting for it to happen, so you're not kind of sure, you know, where to end on. Okay, Amy, here we go. 15 seconds. And 1, 2, 3, off you go.
Hi, my name's Amy Sparks, and The Unchosen One is about a girl called Tassie who lives on the Isle of Peril. Everyone thinks she's a chosen one who will save the land from a deadly shadow, but she really isn't, and she has to find the real chosen one before it's too late.
I've got to say, that was very impressive there, Amy. Literally right up into the wire. That was very, very good. Okay, Ross, come on now. You had this example set. I believe in you. I believe in you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, off we go.
Hello, The Uninvited is a book about what would happen if a great wave of people flooded into our world from a world we didn't know existed, the magical land of fairy, which has been ripped apart by dark magic, and the boy who wants to get his people.
Very, very good. Okay, very, very good. Give yourselves all a big round of applause. That is the end of Quest in a Flash. Okay, we're going to kick off. Stay with us for a moment. We've got to kick off. We've got a school question for you. If you can answer just briefly, that'd be quite good. So this is from the Boulevard Academy in Kingston upon Hull. Thanks for your question. What is your favorite myth or monster, magical place or fantasy idea you loved when you were younger, and why? Okay, so let's start with you, Ross. Do you have a particular favorite sort of myth kind of type of story or monster or place when you were younger?
Probably the idea of Loki. Yeah. You know, the sort of trickster, and the way that he can twist the story and make people believe one thing is happening when another thing is in fact happening. And I just thought that idea of sort of playing with the reader is really...
Was that a common theme of your childhood, Ross?
Well, you know...
no comment on that one. I'll leave you with that one. Okay, Amy, what about you?
I think for me, it's like the idea of magic portals. So always loved the idea that there could be magic just there somewhere, just around the corner. And as a child, I was always looking for them. And one time I don't normally sleepwalk, and I very rarely did as a child. But I actually found myself woken up in the middle of my wardrobe, and I think I was searching for Narnia. So that's my plan.
God, that's amazing. I love that. That's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, it's slightly scary at the same time, but I love it. It's brilliant. Thiago, what about you? Do you have a favorite particular myth or anything?
Well, look, I grew up in Brazil, so I saw lots and read lots of stories that we might not have read over here. And there's a creature called the boitatá, which is like this enormous snake made of fire, of pure fire. And it kind of sort of snakes through the grasslands and he eats eyeballs. So when I was little, I really liked it, but it also kept me up at night because it was pretty scary.
That would do it. Amy, don't worry about it. Apparently, if you're in a wardrobe, it's not very good at getting in wardrobe. So you are okay. But it eats eyeballs. That sounds a lovely, lovely story. Okay. Ash, what about you?
Thanks for that nightmare, Thiago.
We're all going to be in our wardrobes tonight.
I
It's
know.
Thiago's fault.
Eyeball eating
Eyeball.
fire snake. So I think I really love the idea of the Lady of the Lake. This idea that there's somebody there waiting with all of like a vast amount of weaponry, just ready to throw one out to you. Yeah, so I like to swim. I like to do a bit of river swimming and lake swimming. So yeah, so I liked the Lady in the Lake idea.
Have you ever dived down for vast amounts of weaponry in a lake?
Always, yeah, constantly.
Always. And not yet found any?
No. Oh, I mean, I can't really tell you that.
I can't really tell you that. This is a magical thing. Okay. And we're going to finish with Claire. Claire, what about yourself?
Obviously, it was the Greek myths. It was there were two films that were always on at Christmas: Jason the Argonaut and Clash of the Titans, which is about Perseus and Medusa, with these old animations done stop motion, a bit like Wallace and Gromit by a guy called Harryhausen, and they were just so evocative. And I always loved that idea of an epic quest, really, of setting off on a journey, you know, into a. I always wanted to go on an adventure myself. So
yeah, those films actually, I don't know, but because they are still on, aren't they? A lot of times over Christmas as well. I mean, they still. I mean, obviously they're dated in terms of the effects, but they're almost more frightening, aren't they?
Yeah.
So eerie. They're still so eerie. So that's great. Thanks for your question, Boulevard Academy, Kingston upon Hull. Okay, and we're going to jump into our first part of our myth mashup, which all of the authors will be contributing to throughout the show, and then we're going to get a kind of a fully formed sort of adventure as we go through it. But we're going to start with obviously one quick ingredient, which is the hero of the actual story, the main protagonist of the story. Now, of course, they can be anything. It can be brave, scared, grumpy, magical, ordinary, ridiculous, whatever you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to each of our authors. They're going to contribute a little characteristic of the hero. I'm going to write it all down, so then we know the character that's going into this adventure that we're going to kind of put together throughout the story. So we're going to start with Claire. So Claire, can you give us a word about how our hero looks at all?
I'm going to make our hero very small.
Small.
Because I get annoyed when epic adventures are all full of big, strapping, muscly men. And actually being small can be a real advantage if you're trying to sneak between some clashing rocks or go unidentified. Or little people are always much better at climbing up things, I think, so you have less weight.
Good. So small. Okay, Ash, one thing they're good at.
I think our hero would be really good at swimming. I think inspired by Claire's seafaring quest.
That's great. Okay, great. Okay, Ross, one thing they're afraid of.
Okay, I'm going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works here. And say our hero is afraid of magic.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh.
That's very clever. I like that. Okay, great. Okay. Amy, one thing they definitely do not want to do.
They definitely, under no circumstances at all, want to fly.
Oh, okay. That's great. Well done. Okay. And 5, one strange detail about them, Thiago.
Oh, they have a tail.
Oh, I like that. That is great. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so that we have a small, it could be obviously it could be a man or woman, a small hero. They are good at swimming. They're afraid of magic. They don't want to fly, and they have a tail. So that's a good starting with. Okay, that's brilliant to start with. We're going to be jumping back to this as we go through and probably give you ideas about how to create your own stories. For now, we're going to stay with Claire. We're going to say goodbye to everybody else for now, and they'll be joining us a bit later on. So, Thiago, thanks very much for now. And Amy and Ross and Ash and Claire, it is me and Dee. So, welcome back. Thanks very much for that. That's a good start to the story, isn't it? For the hero.
Yeah,
really
sure.
Really, really interesting. So, Claire, the Othernauts. Here we have it here. Brilliant book. Okay, you mentioned obviously Jason and the Argonauts. So for those children who aren't familiar with Jason and the Argonauts as a story, the original one, what does, I suppose you'd have to sort of talk about the original one a little bit in order to get the comparison. What does your book do and your story do that is different from the original Jason and the Argonauts?
It's actually very similar. I based it on the there's an ancient poem called the Argonautica by a poet called Apollonius of Rhodes, who was a librarian at the Great Library of Alexandria, a very cool poet. And I pretty much based this on it beat for beat. So it really is the authentic story of Jason the Argonauts, except I just put some kids on on board the ship. That was all. So it's the same story that Jason is asked by King Peleus to fetch the Golden Fleece. And it's all the same sort of monsters and obstacles that get in the way. So there's clashing rocks, whirlpools, there's a skeleton army, there's a dragon who guards the fleece. But yeah, these three kids, Phoebe, a little cynical psychic, Perry, a boy who can metamorphose into different creatures, and Cora, who may be a harpy or maybe a siren. She's got the body of a bird and the head of a girl. Are also on the ship, so it's not just all big muscly men, as I said.
Well, that's what I'm going to say, actually. So with Phoebe and the other Othernauts how are they different from the classic heroes that you might expect? I mean, you kind of give us a little clue there when you were talking about getting the hero for our myth mashup. You said small, and I'm getting an idea that you kind of like to sort of look at characters that maybe would be unlikely heroes if you looked at them. Is that right?
Yeah, well, when you look at the original Argonauts, they're sort of like a dream team. He puts together people and they all have their own skills. So you get Hercules, who's so strong, Orpheus, who's so good at singing. You get Zetes and Calais, who can fly. So it's a bit like Avengers Assemble. They've all got their superpowers. But I think we all have our superpowers. So I thought it'd be interesting to put some sort of less obvious talents on board.
Yeah, and adds a different dimension to the story, isn't it? Greek myths are probably some of the most famous myths, certainly sort of in this part of the world, and constantly made into movies, even nowadays, and the characters in them and stuff. They're obviously, they come at you from different angles. What makes them so kind of exciting and for children, do you think, and also as a kind of good source for children's fiction and also films? Why do you think that is about Greek myths more than probably quite a few others?
Well, kids like the monsters, don't they? They do have the best monsters. The monsters usually have like multiple heads, or they're usually made by mashing up a couple of creatures. But we still make monsters that way today. The Greek monsters are the best. Medusa, Cyclops, the Hydra, all these guys. The other thing, though, is just these are the OG epic quests. We're talking about quests today, but these were the original quests, and the Odyssey, the quest for the Golden Fleece. These are the quest for Medusa's head. These are they created the whole genre. These are the originals.
They did. Do you have a particular favorite monster at all that you maybe is in your book, but maybe in
there's going to be a book 2 which is going to be based on Clash of the Titans, the Percy story.
Man, that's great. I love that.
I do love a Gorgon. So
love it. Everyone loves a Gorgon and sometimes a Bourbon, but that's completely different.
I think turning people into stone is just such an incredible.
And sometimes nowadays that'd be quite handy, wouldn't it? I mean, not permanently, but just momentary. It'd be quite a handy skill to have. And we've got a question for you, Claire. This is from Waddingham Primary School, Gainsborough. Thank you for your question. What made you want to write about myths and monsters? You've given us a couple of clues about that as speaking so far, but what made you want to write about myths and monsters?
Well, what makes I love myths and fairy tales and folk tales, and these are things I've written about King Arthurian myths as well. These are things I sort of come back to again and again. But I just love the idea that mums and dads and adults have told these stories to kids for thousands of years, and I love being part of that lineage that goes all that way back. And to think, these same stories were being told to little kids over, I don't know what they drank at bedtime then, sheep's milk. In ancient Greece, and we're telling these stories again now. But it's nice to be part of that inheritance, but to make it new for a new generation.
It's so weird that, isn't it? About a story. That's what I'm saying. You're linking back thousands of years, with the same story, which is an amazing thing. Can you give us a little taste of the Othernauts? We're going to sort of hand over to you to give us a little jump to that. Yeah. Sort of tell us a little bit of context about where this part of the story takes place. So let me hand over to you for that, Claire.
Yeah, so I'll just give you just a super quick bit. It's only about a minute. But this is where Phoebe, who's a very cynical, doomy, sarcastic little girl who wants to be the Oracle of Delphi when she grows up, and also hero worships the witch Medea. She's a witchy little girl, always wears black. She's been snatched up by a harpy, and she's in the harpy's nest, along with Perry, who was he can metamorphose into different creatures, and he turned into a rabbit and got snapped by accident. He's not quite in control of his power. He's probably trying to be a lion or something, but he got snatched up and put in the nest as well, and they're talking about how to get out of it at this point. Can you turn into something useful this time? Phoebe demands, clenched with stress. What would be useful? Perry wonders. Squirrel, monkey, elephant, cyclops. Oh, I've got it. What if I turn into a harpy? Okay, let's try and visualize. He closes his eyes and concentrates. He murmurs something under his breath. What did you just murmur? Nothing, Perry says. You murmured something. Yeah, it was just... Perry looks slightly embarrassed again. I'm not really used to doing this with anyone watching. Look, my grandfather Poseidon gave me this skill for my birthday, which was only a few weeks ago. I'm still getting the hang of it. When I want to change, I usually get myself into the zone by saying something like, super beast power activate, and, you know, doing a little fist pump. Okay, Phoebe says, arching an eyebrow. Whatever works for you. Go on then. Well, I feel a bit stupid now. No. Please activate away. Super beast power, he declares, and then slowly and grudgingly pumps his fist. Activate. Nothing. And then, poof. He's a butterfly with spotty orange wings. Seriously, Perry? Phoebe asks, head in her hands in despair. You're going to save us by what? Reminding me of the world's fragile beauty? Kissing a flower?
That's great, lovely. So the Othernauts, here we go, is out for your jumping into myths and legends with a little bit of a twist. Pleasure. Now, before Claire will be joining us again later on for various other things throughout the show. But part of our myth mashup, Claire is now going to, we've contributed each to the hero, but Claire is going to contribute what quest the hero goes on. So, Claire, have you got any idea for the quest the hero could go on?
Yeah, well, actually, I had a launch party for the Othernauts last night, and they made me a special cocktail or mocktail called Nectar of the Gods. And I spend a lot of time with my children who are sort of middle grade age, strolling around London trying to find places to have boba teas and matchas and things like that. Yeah. So we're going to go for the Nectar of the Gods. I think that's what we're after. The most delicious drink of all time. Maybe it even gives you immortality or something. That's what we're after.
Writing this down. Drink. Most delicious drink of all time, maybe gives you immortality. That's brilliant. Okay, Claire. So that's Claire's quest that our hero is going to go on. More from Claire soon. The Othernauts is out now. Thank you very much, Claire. Nice to see you. I'll speak to you later on. Thanks very much, Claire Pollard. Thanks very much. Okay, we're going to jump into our next guest now. After the next guest, we're going to be doing our draw along. So make sure you have your pens and pencils or whatever you need. Paper, of course, would help for that. But let's welcome back Ash Bond. Hello, Ash. Welcome back.
Hello.
So
I can't believe I haven't heard the Gorgon Bourbon rhyme.
Well, I know but the thing is that you've got to be careful with that, because people will just think, I'm going to go on my quest to stamp out the Bourbons, and you think, well, they're easy to do. But then, Ash, you try it with a hobnob, whole different thing. So you got to be careful. It lulls people into a false sense of biscuit security.
I mean, quests are dangerous. So
they are. There we go. So Ash is back with Peregrine Quinn and the kind of weird cover on my green screen. The battle for Olympus. You can see the proper color of it over there. So this is, you kind of told us a little bit about it very briefly for 5 seconds in your, about 5 seconds in your 15-second introduction. So what kind of world, first of all, are we stepping into with this series for those who aren't familiar with the previous two books? Give us a very quick kind of jump in if you can. I'll hand over to you for that.
Well, Peregrine Quinn is a portal fantasy. So we were talking about portals before, weren't we? So Peregrine finds herself going through a magical portal into the cosmic realm. The cosmic realm is full of myths and monsters, just like we're talking about today. We've got dryads, we've got naiads, we've got fauns, we've got centaurs. We have got very scary other things, very secret things as well. And the portals are ancient libraries. So that's what Peregrine's walking into. And that's in the first book. In the second book, she has to compete in the cosmic games there. So she's got to go back to the cosmic world and sort of do all of this stuff. Now, in the third book, Peregrine Quinn and the battle for Olympus, it's now up to Peregrine to save both the cosmic realm and the Terran realm.
So this is because basically what is at stake is pretty much everything in order to in this book. Can you tell us who's with her on this journey? That's kind of been with her right through these whole series. Give us a clue to another couple of sort of sidekicks. For her.
So I've got some little cards here. So this is Peregrine here. This is Peregrine. So she's one of our main characters. Then we've got her best friend, Rowan Strong. Now, Rowan Strong is a librarian. Woo woo, big up the librarians. She is also a dryad. So she lives in the cosmic realm. Now, our other main character is Cal. Okay, Cal is a faun. And what is a faun? It's a half man, half goat. Exactly. Okay, so we've got Peregrine, we've got Rowan, we've got Cal on the adventure, but obviously we've also got our villains as well.
When you're writing something like this, we've all seen, I don't know about read necessarily books, but we've all seen films whereby the action and the danger completely is great, but it completely overwhelms the characters. So you don't really care about the characters because you don't know anything about them. How do you balance sort of these sort of epic kind of mythologies and the story and the danger and kind of, it's obviously such a huge topic really, and keep characters very much at the heart of it as you write that? How do you get that balance, do you think?
I think, Mr. Dilly, I think the heart really is the important thing there. We're getting to the heart of the story. And Peregrine is a little bit like me. She just likes to run into things and do stuff and kind of forget about all the emotion around things. And so I'm lucky that I've got all of these amazing characters that remind Peregrine and remind me also to keep the heart there. So I would say Cal really is the heart of this story. So for me, I always have a few characters there that are all feeling. So I think Peregrine is pretty much like all action, and then you've got Cal, who's very much all heart. Has a lot of one-to-one conversations with Peregrine to remind her how to feel, and then at the same time reminding me as a writer and you as a reader like what really is at stake. And a lot of it is, okay, it's apocalypse, but really it's our relationships, it's our friendships, and that's the only thing that gets Peregrine through all of this, is that she's got a band that she's forged in the first book and really cemented friendships in the second book, and now can go on a quest with.
You can't do it by yourself, you see. It's like life. You can't do it by yourself. You need other people. And we've got a question for you from school, Ash. It's quite a big question, so we need quite a short answer. So it's quite a big question. But let's see how we do it. It's a good question, but it's quite long. The Art Academy London, thank you. Do you feel responsible for portraying gods and monsters as close to the original as possible so people get a good basis in classical folkloric tradition? Great question. You can answer yes, no, or say something in between. What do you think?
Probably something in between, I would say. I mean, it's always in between the writers, isn't it? I think that you have a responsibility to portray an aspect that you find interesting about the character, but also we've got to remember that these are folk tales and these are myths. They don't have just one interpretation. We might say that something in an encyclopedia of mythology is like, oh, this is what this character is, but everyone will have their own interpretations, and they will have changed over the millennia that they will have been spoken about. So the gods are a very interesting example of that. I won't speak too long, but we can think about Hades. Hades is considered a villain, but he's also considered a good counselor in some interpretations. So, and also as a sort of a different kind of figure in other interpretations. So I would say that I have a responsibility to put forward my interpretation that is appropriate for this setting and this story.
Good answer, and thank you for your question, Archer Academy. Now, that's good. Done it. Okay, that's good. Big question. So Ashley's going to give us a little taster of Peregrine Quinn, and then we're going to go to our draw along with Thiago. So here we go. Over to you, Ashley.
Okay, I will read you the prologue for the battle for Olympus, so I don't spoil anything. Discord waits for the girl, though she does not know exactly how long she has been waiting. Time moves differently here in this place of storms. here in the fourth realm. A purple glow blooms in the dark, and the monsters howl their welcome. Finally, the girl has returned, and she has brought a notebook. Discord stirs. Discord is this person. Her form shifting so the darkness becomes a cloak around her shoulders. The monsters shrink back as the storm becomes a voice. It has been a while since I have seen you, my child. Discord grows arms inside her cloak and hands with fingers that stretch. You are taller. The girl bows her head. I am a 5th year at the academy now, mistress. Ah, and are you learning? The girl barks a laugh that echoes in the darkness. Not enough. Not like when you teach me. The academy teachers, they won't let me use my powers. They won't let me do anything. Ah, that's because those at the academy do not understand. Discord slinks forward. They do not yet know who you are, my child, or what you are capable of. And how could they, weak and powerless as they are? She strokes the girl's crow-black hair, long and soft like a river at night. They don't understand how precious you are, how special. The girl's eyes shine as sharp and bright as diamonds. But you do, don't you?
It's a bit creepy. That's great. That was
So creepy.
really, really good. Okay, thank fantastic. So listen, Peregrine Quinn, Battle for Olympus, and the other Peregrine Quinn books are out, open now. They're open if you open them, but they're out now is what I meant to say. They're out. You are going to contribute our magical object to our myth mashup. So Claire said about the nectar of the gods, this sort of drink that could offer immortality. What's the magical object our hero is going to have with them or find on their way?
Well, thinking about our hero's swimming skills and maybe my obsession with the Lady of the Lake and the lake, what did the Lady of the Lake give King Arthur? Excalibur. So we're going to go with the sword Excalibur as our magical object.
Oh, I like that. I'm banging it in. Okay, Ash, thank you very much. Now, we're going to say goodbye to Ash. Ash is joining us a bit later on. Round of applause. Aspon, thank you very much, Ash. Okay, fantastic. Okay, now we're going to welcome Thiago for the draw along. Hello, Thiago. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Mr. Dilly. How are you?
Yeah, really, really, really good. Now, we're looking forward to this. Now, I know you've got to, Thiago's got to share his camera. So while he's doing that, get your paper and pen ready in your classroom for this.
Yes.
Let's get you up there, Thiago. And then
you guys are gonna see a big white screen, and then we can start drawing together. I will draw a little bit faster than I usually would for a draw along, so we can get to the end of the drawing. But you guys can continue your drawing later.
That's right. You can catch it if it's too fast for you. Obviously, you can watch this again later on, as Thiago said. All the authors are going to join in. I'm going to join in as well. We're going to show all our drawings at the end. But let's hand over Thiago for you now for that. Here we go.
So we've been talking about all sorts of kind of mythical monsters from Greece and Rome and Egypt. I'm actually going to go back to what I was telling you guys at the start and draw one from Brazil, and it's another scary one. So this one's called a mapinguari, and it's a big hairy monster that lives in the jungle, and it kind of eats hunters. And we're going to discover what it looks like as we draw it. So we're going to start with the eye. It's only got one eye, like a cyclops. It's a big round eye like this. It's a big round eye. I'm going to draw a big pupil in the middle and like a shiny bit like that. And I'm going to draw a little kind of the lower bit of the eyelid there. Now, it's only got one eye, but it needs some sort of eyebrow to give it some sort of kind of expression. So I'm going to draw an angry eyebrow and draw some of the hairs on the eyebrow there and a line under the eye. Now, the next thing I'm going to draw is its head, and it's covered in really long hair. So for us to draw the long hair, I would start with like a line that goes sideways like this and another line on the other side. And I'm going to draw all the hairs going all the way from the bottom to the top of the head. And we can do that quite quickly. They're just like curvy lines. Now, you might notice that as well as just having one eye, the head is missing something. And that's because the mapinguari doesn't have a mouth on its head like any like a normal person, or indeed most monsters do, its mouth is right in the middle of its tummy, which I think is actually quite a useful thing, because that's where the food's going to end up anyway. So I'm going to draw a big angry mouth here at the bottom of the tummy. And that's another kind of, funny curve with big sharp teeth like that, because it chews people. Did I say that before? Or I have forgotten to say, but it eats people. So it's, if you go to the jungle in Brazil at night, it's a good thing. Try not to get lost, so as it might become somebody's dinner, which is fine as well. It's part of the ecosystem. Now I'm gonna make the mouth black so you can see that there's like a big mouth there. The next thing I'm gonna draw are the kind of the arms, and I think the arms should be coming at us as if he's trying to kind of grab us. So I'm going to draw one arm first like this, and I'm going to draw some scary claws at the end, big scary claws. And it's not just the head that is covered in hair, the whole of Mapinguari is covered in hair. So we're going to have more hairs there. And actually, this draw along, as you can see, is mainly just drawing lots of little curved parallel lines. But at the end, I think we're going to end up like a fun and slightly scary giant hairy monster. Okay, so we've drawn one arm, one clawy arm. And then we're going to draw the other one. Same thing, big curve, slightly smaller curve. And then some claws, the hairs of the arm. And once again, guys, if I'm going too fast, which I imagine I might be, you can always continue your monster later. And maybe you can make it slightly different. You can give it like a jaunty hat or something like that. Maybe your monster's hair can be curly or a different shape. Now, another thing that Mapinguari has that makes it very difficult to track is got round feet. Its feet are completely round. So when he's walking around in the forest, hunters and trappers and unsuspecting kind of travelers cannot tell if it's going forwards or backwards. You can't tell the direction of its traps. So we're going to draw the sole of one of its feet. And that's a big round, just a circle like this. But we want to make it look like a foot. So we're going to put some claws, maybe just 3 there. And then that's sort of the rest of the foot, which is going to be covered in fur as well. And then we're going to draw the body. Remember, this is its belly. This is where the mouth is. And then the leg that's coming up. So this leg is coming up. And if it's walking towards us and one leg is coming up, the other leg will be down and on the ground like this. Now we can cover the rest of the body in hair. So I'm going to start with like a little beard or a goatee down here, even though this is its tummy. And then I'm going to draw the hairs that come all the way from here, from the side of its body down. If you imagine he lives in the forest and he's kind of all hairy like this, he must be kind of covered in all sorts of like weird little ticks and bugs and stuff like that. So maybe you can kind of draw a couple of little flies making their way out of kind of its armpits or something like that. And then maybe the last thing we need is some sort of sound effects, since it's coming to eat us. So I think we can just have like a big like this. And here we go. That's Mapinguari. That is a creature from Brazilian folklore that will eat you if you are going to the jungle at night and not pay attention to what you're doing. I'm going to leave it there for another second or two so we can have a good look at it. You guys can capture your screens if you want. I also can kind of post this later if you guys want to continue your drawing at a different time. But
that's great. That's great, Thiago. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. We're going to show you what we've been working on now, Thiago. Okay. So
I'm very excited.
Mine's a bit rough. Okay, so Don't show straight away. When I bring the authors back, we'll do like a 1, 2, 3 reveal at the same time. So let's bring back Claire and Ash, Ross, and Amy. Okay. So in your classrooms, if you haven't shown everyone, you can all show each other in your classroom at the same time. I'll show the people next to you if they haven't seen it, whatever it is. So here we go. Ready on a 1, 2, 3. We're holding them up to the screen. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's hold them up. Can we see?
Oh, these are very good. These are very good. Yeah,
actually really good.
Some of them are much better than mine. Well done.
That's really,
I told you this was going to happen.
Fantastic. That's really, really good. It's like a sort of an angry courgette. Sort of.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you very much. Now, Ross, you're going to stay with us. Thiago, we'll speak to you a bit more later on. Everyone else, we'll speak to you a little bit later. Amy coming up soon as well. So thanks very much, Thiago. Speak to you in a bit. So thank you very much, Amy, Ash, Claire, and Thiago. There we go. Ross, that's pretty good, wasn't it? How'd you get on? Pretty good.
Aye, it was all right. I can't find it now. That's my excuse anyway for not showing it again.
No, but it's really good.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really good, really good. Now, Ross is here with the uninvited, and he gave us a little introduction to that at the beginning. Tell us a little bit more about what the story. You kind of gave us a little glimpse into that. Tell us a bit more about what the story is about and what kind of, you know, I know this is quite a common question, but what inspired you to write the story as well? Could you do that?
Yeah, of course. So the uninvited is it's a story about what would happen if, you know, it's kind of like a portal story in reverse. So instead of, you know, a lot of portal stories is people from our world finding somewhere else, this is a portal story about people from another world coming through a portal to us, because their world, fairy, as in F-A-E-R-A-E, like the old-fashioned spelling fairy tale, it's a magical world, but it's being eaten up by this terrible thing called the Scourge, which is sort of a cross between a monster and a disease, and it sort of turns you into a monster, recruits it for its army, and it's spreading across this world of fairy. And these people come through to our world, these survivors, as a last sort of gasp chance at grasp at survival, basically. And it's all about what would happen if this sort of wave of people came into our world. You know, where would they stay and how would they be treated? And then, of course, the adventure begins and some things kick off, and we have a guy called Sam who wants to get his people home and who sets off an adventure through our world, and there are circuses of the dead, there are monsters, there are all sorts of things going on in the background there, and there's also an unlikely hero from our world as well.
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? I mean, I mean, that idea of, like, you know, if there were other people from other planets, how would that happen? You know, it's obviously been done in all sorts of ways, but it's really, really fabulous on that. You mentioned Sam there. Obviously, he goes on to this sort of dangerous journey, and obviously has to trust others as he goes through it. And I think that's the integral part of all sorts of, well, any group of people, any team of people in whatever world, if you're making it up or anything else like that. But in terms of adventure stories, obviously the stakes are pretty high, and they are in your story. So why is trust? And I'm saying this as a lead into your characters, but also for those children might want to then write their own characters or kind of be inspired by today's show to do so. Yeah. Why is trust and maybe the breaking of that trust such an important element of your stories and adventure stories in general, do you think?
I think because you know, without that trust, the world can be quite a lonely place. And I think it's all about, you know, Sam at the beginning of the book, not to give any spoilers or anything, but Sam doesn't really trust anyone. He's a loner. He has sort of, I can do everything on my own. And throughout the book, he actually finds that being part of a team is something that he quite enjoys. And it's something that I can relate to. Being a youngster, I was really shy and I was sort of introverted, and still am to this day. But I think learning that trust in other people and being part of a team and learning that you don't have to do everything yourself is a really important lesson. And it's one of those things that I just wanted to spill a little bit of me into the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, and it comes across that way as well. What's obviously, as it's talking about Sam still and the story, you know, people, and we've already done this, people think about fantasy books and think about obviously monsters, and we've got that from the Greek mythology, from like Ash and Clare, etc. But what other sort of things can be frightening or dangerous in these sort of stories? Sometimes, I guess, you know, kind of things to do with their own characters, can't they? And what they would do or won't do. Is that something you think could be, you know, themselves? I'm trying to say, you know,
sometimes yourself, sometimes the unknown, and the unknown can be you. You know, that can be a part of your personality or a part of yourself that hasn't been revealed before. And also, I think it's really important to have an antagonist, a bad guy, if you like, in a story who really believes that what they're doing is justified. And I think that can be scarier, taking on someone who in their head, no matter to us, the reader, how terrible what they're doing seems, in their head, they're right, they're justified. And I think if the antagonist is someone who believes that what they're doing is right, then it can make them scarier in the story.
Yeah, and also sometimes it's when the hero, or even ourselves as a reader, they don't agree with the bad guy, obviously, and they don't think that's the right thing to do, but they can see why they might do it.
Well, exactly. And we've got a bad guy in this book, The Uninvited, called Joe Lively. And Joe Lively is he comes through from Fairy with all the other sort of refugees, and all he wants is to get his people home. But he will stop at nothing to do that, and he will hurt whoever he has to hurt to make that happen. So you can understand that he wants to get home, but at the same time, you don't have to agree with everything that he does.
That's always a really difficult thing, isn't it, as a reader, to sort of get your head around. We've got a question for you here, Ross, as well. Here we go. So this is from Skandar Primary School, Newcastle upon Tyne. Thanks for your question. What influenced your choice of subject for your book? So that's either this book or generally your books. I don't know, but I'm guessing we're talking about this book for that. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think, like with anything, for me, the key is to ask questions. And people always ask where ideas come from. Being an author, the other guys on the call will know this very well. One of the questions you get asked over and over again, and it's great, is where do your ideas come from? But I don't know. I really, really don't know. I wish I had some amazing, answer about burning a magic candle at midnight and waiting for the idea to come down the chimney and enter my head or something like that. But nothing like that really happens. I guess it's just asking questions about the world. Like what if is brilliant? What if's the best question in the entire world? So what if a group of people did come to this world from a world we didn't know existed? What would happen? How would we treat them? Where would they go? Where would they stay? Are they magical? What are they after? Would we suspect them of invading us or whatever? And what if is just an open-ended question that can lead you anywhere? So I guess that is it. Just ask questions about the world and be curious, and don't accept that things are just this way because they are. Ask why and what would happen if they were different. And that can lead to lots of stories, lots of different ideas.
That's a great answer, Ross. Thanks very much for that brilliant answer. You're going to give us a little taster of The Uninvited, and then Ross is going to obviously contribute his element to the myth mashup we're doing. I think Ross is going to be doing the obstacles that they have to, or the danger they have to face. But more of that in a minute. Let's hand over to Ross now for a little reading from The Uninvited. Here.
Okay, cool. So really quick little setup here. This is where we meet Alistair, Ali Gray, who is 5 at the beginning of the book, who will subsequently be older. Ali is on holiday with his mum and his sister Lizzie to the Isle of Lewis off the northwest coast of Scotland, and his mum has taken him to see these standing stones, the standing stones of Callanish, which are ancient standing stones, a little bit like Stonehenge, which stay up there in Lewis. So he's bored out the skull, and then he sees a light in the sky, follows it, touches it, bang, he ends up on his backside. Ali, what are you doing on the ground? You'll get grass stains all over the bum of your jeans. Ali looks over his shoulder, sees his older sister wandering across the grass towards him, her eyes flicking between her phone screen and him. You don't need to babysit me. Go away. She shakes her head. I wish. Mum says I need to watch you. I'm not a baby. She rolls her eyes. Whatever, just get up. Her gaze moves from the phone to Alistair and then past him. Something in her face changes. Her expression stiffens. Her eyes get slowly wider. Ali, get up now. Come here. He frowns, blows a raspberry. She's always bossing him around. Then he notices the weird look on her face and the fact her phone is forgotten in her hand. That never happens. Ali, I'm not fooling around. Get up. Ali follows her gaze to the spot between the standing stones where his little spark of light had been. He blinks. He feels his mouth drop open. The blue-white spark has expanded to fill the space between the two stones, shifting and shimmering like a curtain of moonlight. He picks himself up, backs away till he feels his sister behind him. Then he does something he hasn't done for ages since he was very small. He takes her hand. They are far enough from the busy main circle of standing stones to feel quite alone. Both Ali and his sister would like to turn and run, but they are frozen in place, bewitched by the impossible thing they are watching. A hand is reaching through the curtain of moonlight.
Thanks, Ross. That's really helped, along with Thiago's eyeballs and all the rest of it. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really going to make a nice image in my dreams
Don't have
tonight.
nightmares, guys.
That's great. So the Uninvited is out now for your slightly scary but fantasy pleasure as well. Now Ross is going to contribute to our mythical mashup. So do we have an obstacle or danger that our hero has to overcome in his story?
Yes, we do. So we said that earlier on. I think we said that his biggest fear is flying.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd turn that on its head. And we have the cloud giants who live on the clouds and who have taken this elixir for themselves.
Oh, that's great.
So
there we go. So this
to
is
get
great.
this thing, he is going to have to get up there. And of course, to get up there, he's going to have to fly, which is his biggest fear.
Oh, that's a great one. Ross, thank you very much. Okay, Ross, you're going to stay with us. We're going to go into part 2 now, and then we got all our guests back for a little bit of an author panel before we speak to Amy and then return again with Thiago. Thanks very much, Ross. Okay, so let's bring everyone back on. Welcome back to Amy again. Welcome back to Ash. Welcome back to Claire. And welcome back again. Thiago. Very fantastic. Okay, great to have you all with us for our sort of short author panel, just talking about myths and danger and monsters and quests and all the rest of it. Again, to kind of really inspire kids with the love of stories. And I think, Claire, you mentioned about that sort of link with these stories can have with us and speak to us all. So first one is today, and you can answer in any order. Try and keep your answers fairly brief. We're running out of time, would be great. So why do you think myths, monsters, and magical worlds are still so exciting for readers today? Claire, you kind of alluded to that a little bit, but Amy, why do you think that's the case? Why do you think?
I think it's just the timelessness of them all, because when you're talking about fantasy worlds or creatures from other places, you know, they can be from any time, any kind of world, so they're not touched by the time that we have in our world. And I think that's one of the things that appeals to me as well.
So that's what time is. So do anyone agree with that? Anyone like to add anything to that? Ash, and anything else you'd like to add to that?
I think myths at their heart are really good stories, and myths oftentimes have something to do with the supernatural as well. So really good stories that show us a little bit, or like imply how the universe has affected our lives. Yeah. I mean, what's not to love about a really good story?
That's good. Claire, anything else you'd like to add? I know you sort of mentioned a little bit about this earlier on, but anything else to that?
No, I mean, I think they are most of us are still telling the ancient myths today, however we dress it up. Most stories come from these original myths. You know, they tell us tragedy, comedy, seeking, questing. You've done it.
It's all part. But would you sort of agree that these myths are kind of it's because they're kind of universal. The stories in them, although obviously we don't generally fight monsters in terms of, you know, that particular monster, but they're sort of, the monsters are kind of about us as people, you know, and what we face and things in our own heads. And would you agree it's that kind of thing? Is that why it's sort of quite appealing and still for kids? Because we can recognize, that sounds funny, recognize ourselves in them. Is that right or not really? What do you think? Ash, you're not sure about that. Do you think so?
No, I reckon so. I think the idea of passing on a story is that you see a seed of truth in it. And every time you retell a story, you put a little bit of yourself in it. So the idea that we're listening to these stories so many thousands of years later is that we've got little bits of so many different souls in these stories. And I find that so wonderful that when we're hearing a story, I think we're also hearing the echoes of so much of humanity in them as well. So I think there's like one story, we were getting Jason and the Argonauts, or I can't remember the name of that amazing creature that you made us draw, Thiago, but when we're hearing this story, also seeing a constellation of other stories in there as well. And that, I think, is what makes myths so powerful and universal.
I think we're going to put all that down as a quote and put it online. That's a really, really good line. Okay, so Ross and Thiago, let's jump to you for this one to get this one off. What do you think? This again, thinking about the children watching, obviously, but also linking to your own books and stories that you've written. What makes, do you think, a brilliant quest? Do you think it's the destination they're going for, the danger the heroes are facing, the characters, something else? What makes a good quest? We've all sort of seen or maybe read books or seen movies where you think, man, it doesn't really doesn't really do it. I don't know why. And other ones where it just immediately grabs you. So there's something in that. Thiago, let's start with you. What do you think makes a really good quest, do you think?
Well, I think the most interesting quest stories, but also quests that says are just unexpected, right? I think, and not just unexpected for the reader, but unexpected for the protagonist, for the hero. Yeah. So I think the most interesting quests are the ones that the hero thinks they're going to do one thing in one place, and actually turns out they're going to do something. They end up in a completely different place, doing something completely different. And then, yes, of course, there are elements around that, interesting landscapes and places, interesting characters and monsters. But I think, to me, the most interesting thing about any quest is that the good quests tend to be, the kind of the goal of the quest ends up being something completely different at the end, or the reward of the quest is something completely different from what everybody thought it was going to be at the start.
A bit like life. You start off one way and then you end up somewhere else. You don't really know what you're doing, do you? Ross, anything to add to that at all?
Yeah, I think character is really important. Like if you don't care about the character, you don't care about the story. And the characters in myths with the characters. And also, I think if you look, we were talking earlier on about how universal they are. You can see the same stories popping up all over the world from different civilizations over thousands of years. The same stories pop up, having had no relation to each other. We keep telling the same stories over and over again. And a lot of times, some of the secret to that, I think, is having limits to the magic, like having things that the magic can't do. Because if you can wave a magic wand and solve all your problems, then there's no peril, there's no story. You have to have limits on that magic. So I think the best heroes are the ones who have to solve the problems on their own and not rely on that magic to get what they want, if that makes sense. So all these sort of hurdles that are put in front of these heroes are totally universal. I think that's what makes a really good quest, is just that ramping up of, oh no, what's he going to do, or she, what are they going to do next? How are they going to get over this one? And it just keeps going and going and going until you get to the climax.
That's brilliant. Okay, so you mentioned this earlier, Ross, about the sort of the what if thing. I think another, I don't know what did it, but what's for children, maybe after this, when they go down to, obviously we're doing the mythical matchup as a way into sort of creating a character and maybe a story. But if they wanted a what if question to just kick off something with, if they're stuck in their own mind, could you really think very quickly? I'll go through you very quickly of a what if question. So let's go to Amy first. A quick what if question. Could you inspire the children?
Oh, that's a really tricky one. So kind of like a what if sort of proposal for a kind of fantasy.
Yeah, anything at all. It could be anything at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What if the shadow was you?
Oh, that's good. What if the shadow was you? That's really good. Okay. We're writing that one down. That's good. Claire, what about yourself?
I haven't really thought about what if question. I know you said something about what if. I suppose I was thinking more like all quests are a sort of what if, because they're about, especially for a child reading them, they're about setting out in the world, isn't it? And it's about what if you had to go out in the world and encounter all these obstacles and things you're frightened of, your fears. How would you journey out?
What if you took just one step towards your greatest fear? There we go. We all have those. That one. Ash.
What if there was a world in the sky?
There we go. That's a good one. Okay. Thiago?
What if everyone stopped being able to talk? If everyone stopped talking?
Oh, that'd be quite good sometimes, wouldn't it? and especially nowadays. And Ross?
What if the old woman who was sitting across from you on the bus on the way to school yesterday didn't have shopping in that bag? What if she had a bag of wishes?
Oh, that's very, very good. So listen, plenty of starters there from our authors. Now, Amy is going to stay with us, and everyone's coming back again a bit later on to do the myth mashup reveal. But for now, thanks very much to Ross. Thanks very much to Ash again. Thanks very much to Claire again, to Thiago again. And that's the end of our... Okay, Amy. So great to have you with us today. That's really interesting speaking there. So, incredible. So the Unchosen one, Amy. So it seems ages ago since being in the show, but tell us why you wanted to sort of the chosen one is a classic sort of mythological character. I mean, you know, even if children haven't read a lot of books or they'd have seen it in films, the chosen one. Why did you choose to turn that on its head to the unchosen one? Any thoughts?
I think for me, I just love the idea of kind of turning things upside down and look at things from a slightly different angle. So it's one of my favorite things when I have an idea, is literally kind of twisting it upside down, doing it from different points of view. So with the idea of the chosen one, in a lot of ways, that's kind of been done so many times. So I was thinking, what could I do with this idea? I knew I wanted to write a fantasy book. So what can I do? And it was literally, let's put an un in front of that and let's have an unchosen one. What might that character look like? What might that story be? And how is that going to tip everything upside down? So that's kind of where it came from. It sounded like fun.
Yeah, I mean, Tassie in the story. I mean, I think Thiago sort of mentioned that. I think it was just in the last thing we did about, you know, characters that aren't ready, you know, that don't want to do the quest, and that also is kind of a common motif, isn't it? So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to be all that kind. Somewhere you can all identify with, doesn't matter whether you're a child or an adult. You know, I feel embarrassed. I feel nervous, and all the rest of it. Why is it fun to write a hero though, who is definitely not willing and definitely not ready and probably not the right person at all for the job? Why is it fun to write that kind of character?
I think it gives you an awful lot of opportunity for comedy, and I love writing funny books, you know, books that make people laugh, make them smile. So a character who is kind of doing the opposite of what their natural inclination is always going to have a lot of mileage in it. So I think that's really fun. And because they are kind of making decisions that are outside of their comfort zone, we have a lot of empathy with that character, because we all have to step out of our comfort zone sometimes. But I think as well, it makes it very fun because there's going to be a lot of unexpected things happening. And if you're bringing in the comedy with that particularly, you know, it's a lovely combination of ingredients to play with.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of fantasy stories have prophecies in the story. Obviously, yours does as well. What makes prophecies kind of useful for a writer? How can they also cause trouble, not for necessarily a writer, but for the characters in it? Because they're always a good thing, you know, that someone's prophesied something, and then you have to find the person who's going to fulfill that prophecy. So, what makes that great for a writer in a story?
I think it's nice because you've kind of got your setup. You've got what everyone is expecting to happen. And again, when it's kind of looking at subverting that and making unexpected things happening, having, I mean, the prologue of the book actually has the kind of the prophecy in it. So that shows what everyone is expecting, and then the reality of it in this particular case is very, very different. It also shows what the stakes are if the prophecy isn't fulfilled. So that's really fun. So it's kind of making that something that means the prophecy is very important. And in line with that as well, because whatever these stakes are will be something of importance. It's something that the character really wants to be invested in. You know, they have to do something about it. So I think in a lot of ways it gives a lot of structure. How your character reacts with that, how the plot pans out, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is the thing, it's a bit like life, isn't it? You know, we go through life and we become aware of certain things and the things we have to do, even if we don't want to do them. It kind of goes through that. We have a school question for you, Amy. Here we go. So this is from Watty Primary School, Rotherham. Thank you for your question. They're always a regular sending in questions of Mr Dilly Meets. So thank you again. How do you plan your stories? There's two parts to the question, really. And how many drafts and edits do you do? So how do you plan your stories?
I don't. I very, very rarely do, because the kind of books that I write are often sort of quite fun and quite sort of unpredictable. I actually quite enjoy seeing where the story is going to go. So I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing, or even who I'm going to meet along the way. And actually, when the main character Tassie in The Unchosen One, when she meets a key character, I'll just say in a wood. So if you come across that bit in the book, when she meets a key character in a wood, and that character appears, I had no idea who they were, what their name is. And if you read the exchange that goes on between Tassie and this character, that has been identical since my first draft, and that is genuinely how that panned up. And that is an absolute example of how the stories don't necessarily be planned, but they all seem to work out. If you understand the character, you understand the heart of the story. For me, the plot is an adventure to discover.
Yeah, in yourself and for yourself. Good. How many drafts and edits do you do? Does that kind of vary a lot, or do you have you? I'll tell you. Here's a question: What's the most amount of drafts? So, if for those children not watching, the drafts is obviously well, explain. A draft is the kind of the initial thing that you write down, and then you get it to an editor. Is that right? And they say, "Oh, change that, change a bit," and eventually you get to the final one. What's the most you've ever had to do?
Oh, I don't know. I try not to keep track of numbers. But if you pants a story, fly it by the seat of your pants and make it up as you go, you do have to do more editing, because it will be a mess when you start. So probably for like the main drafts, maybe sort of 4.
That's
think
amazing.
maybe 4 or 5, and then you fiddle with little words and bits. That's not really the draft.
Yeah.
That's more the fiddle.
I spoke to an author. This was last year actually, and he did 25 of one book. 25 drafts. That'd do your head in, wouldn't it? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So here we go. So that's great. Okay, now you're going to give us a little reading, and then we're going to hear from your myth mashup contribution for that. So should we hand over to you for a little reading from the uninvited here?
Yes, thank you. So I was going to read for, the prologue, but actually we had Ash's lovely prologue. So I've decided I'm actually going to introduce you to the antagonists, and I can actually show you the antagonists here as well. So these guys here, if you can see them, we have 3 wraiths, and these have been some of my absolute favorite characters to ever write. So I'm going to talk about when we meet them. So this is in chapter 7. They live on an island called Greater Peril, which is the 3rd island in the series. And this is when they're just being woken up because something is stirring in the world. Down one of these tunnels in the heart of the cliffs was a chamber, and in one dark corner was a long oblong stone case, rather like a large coffin. In the centre of the chamber was a large flat disc, only 2 inches thick and hovering in the air a few feet above the ground. Its rim was made of a silvery metal engraved all around with strange runes that no one could read. Not because age had dimmed their form, or because the language was long forgotten, but because the person who had inscribed them had pretty poor handwriting, and so the words forever remained a mystery. Filling the inside of the disc, but contained within, was a swirling mass of grey smoke, which for the last 1,000 years had been silent as it twisted and turned. Yet now strange whispers had started drifting from the hovering disc. They echoed through the chamber and travelled along the maze of tunnels and caverns, crept out of the small crevice at the foot of the defiant cliffs, and floated on the breeze. A low thrum began to echo through the rock. A subtle vibration unsettled the birds and sent them soaring into the sky. The swirling smoky mass at the centre of the disc began to wisp out of its circular prison, leaving behind a bright whiteness. The smoke drifted into the whispery chamber and thickened to a dense grey floating mass. Then it divided itself into 3 distinct columns, each writhing into the form of a faceless, cloaked wraith. "It is time," said the first wraith in an important voice. The other 2 exchanged a faceless glance. "Time for what?" the second wraith ventured. "This," replied the first wraith dramatically, if somewhat unhelpfully. From underneath the cloak came its grey mottled hand, which did not look like it had seen life for a while. Its grey mottled finger dipped into the white light within the disc. All 3 forms peered closer with their non-existent eyes. "Oh," said the other 2. For there within the bright light an image began to form, of dense woodland, and an elf boy, a griffin, and a human child.
There we go, the unchosen one. Read more to find out. Now, Amy, we have our story developing, our myth mashup. What is the sort of twist in the story? Can you think of a twist for the story?
Yes, I have quite a fun one. So the person that they thought was on their side actually isn't.
Oh gosh, that's always bad, isn't it? Thought on side isn't. Okay, fantastic. Okay, Amy, thank you very much. Amy Sparks there, and The Unchosen One is out now. So thank you very much, Amy. Join us again in just a moment. We're going to finish with Thiago, then everyone's back to do the big reveal and a couple of questions. We'll probably go a little bit over time, probably about another 5 minutes, but later than we thought, but otherwise than that. Amy, thank you very much. Speak to you in a minute. Thank you very much. Thank you. Amy Sparks there. Round of applause for Amy. Okay, now we're going to welcome back Thiago, who's going to tell us a little bit more about his wonderful book, Welcome to the School of God. You are back, sir. You are back. So The School of Gods. Here we have the School of Gods out now for your myth-busting pleasure. Tell us a little bit more about the School of Gods, Thiago. What happens to Ollie Morris at the start of the book? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Ollie's a normal kid from Earth, and he, unlike a lot of kids, he's upset that the school holidays have ended, but he's not upset for the reason most kids would be, which is they have to go back to school. He's upset he's not going back to school. He doesn't go to school. He's taught by his parents, which he loves, but he misses going to school and having kids. So the thing having friends. So the things that he wants to do the most in the world is to go to a real school. And all of a sudden he can see his name written in the sky and clouds, and a tree calls his name, and a bin calls his name, and a bush calls his name, and he freaks out and runs home. And he gets there. There's a little floaty man with a scroll. He's called Dihegelio. He's the god of messengers. And he invites Ollie to go to the School of Gods, which is in a completely different planet called the Pear. And Ollie, because he wants to go to school so much, accepts. And when he gets there, the gods are all terrible. They've never seen a mortal before. They don't know Ollie can die or can't fly or doesn't shoot flames out of his eyes. So he has quite a difficult time adapting.
Well, you would do, wouldn't you? You would do. That sounds like a difficult afternoon. Let's put it this way. Obviously, your book's been an author and illustrator, a pack full of illustrations as well in the book. How do the pictures help you tell the story or tell the jokes and sort of build the world and show the character? And can they do that in a different way from the words, or can they sort of add something to the words? How does that work for you in terms of that sort of balancing those two?
Well, look, I think they can work in a different way from the words. I think sometimes, you can describe an expression or describe a reaction, and it doesn't really have the same effect on the reader as seeing it drawn. Sometimes as well, you can, save a lot of description by drawing it. So this is like a map of the School of Gods, and all its different buildings, and it saved me writing 10-odd pages and people reading 10-odd pages. So I think when I'm writing, I'm always thinking what's going to be in the text that would be better experienced as words, and what's in the story that will be better experienced as an illustration. And
So have you ever sort of written stuff and went, actually, I'm going to draw that, or drawn something, actually, I'm going to write that? You ever sort of done that?
Yeah. And sometimes I will draw a character and I haven't written the character because the character looks quite funny. I go, okay, I have to have this character inside the book because I want to draw it and I want people to see it. Yeah,
that's brilliant. We got a question for you, actually, from a school. We kind of echoes that a little bit. So this is from Simpson Lane Academy in Nottingham. Thanks for your question. What is that? Should be the thing. Of course, I just copied it from there, what they said. But what is the thing you like least about writing? Do you have a preference? That's what I'm saying. Writing, drawing. I mean, do you have a thing that you like least?
Well, I like doing both, and actually, I'm very privileged that I get to do both, because I think if I only wrote, maybe there'll be moments where I find it quite tiring, and if I only drew, there are moments where I find it quite, intense. So being able to do a bit of both is really exciting for me. I don't think there's anything I don't like about writing. I think writing is really good fun, and I think that I'm always excited about writing and drawing because I like the sensation that there's something that didn't existed, and because you thought about it and put it in a piece of paper, now it exists. It wasn't there before. So I don't mind editing. I don't mind rewriting. I find anything that makes the story better, I can see how it's useful. So I know this is not a great answer, but I enjoy all of it.
No, that's a good answer. That's a good answer, and one sort of complements the other, which is really, really good. Thanks for your question, Simpsons Lane Academy, as well, for sending that in. Now, Thiago's going to do a little reading from us from School of Gods, and then we also have his contribution for the helper or godly guide in our story. Then we bring everyone back to go through the whole myth mashup and say goodbye to everyone to the end of the show. So, Thiago, let's hand over to you from a little snippet from Welcome to the School of Gods. Here we go.
Thank you. So, we're going to go to a bit in the story where Ollie and his two human friends, Gert and Enrico, have just arrived at the School of Gods. They are in their room. They're living there. They're boarding there. And they find these little boxes on top of their beds. Hey, what's this? Asked Gert, who had given up on her phone and was rummaging in her School of Gods trunk. She lifted up a small box labeled I Gnome 14.5. The two boys looked in their trunks and found similar boxes. Ollie opened his and took a leaflet out. The cover read, "Say hello to a new mobile gnome." "Mobile gnome," said Gert. "It must be some sort of silly joke," said Enrico. "A prank to embarrass the new students." "Are you going to take me out of here, or can I go back to sleep?" said a tiny voice from inside the box. Ollie shrieked with surprise and dropped the box on the hard stone floor. "Ouch," said the little voice. Ollie picked the box up and peeked inside. Looking back at him was a very small gnome, no bigger than the palm of Ollie's hand. The gnome was lying on a tiny velvet bed with his podgy arms resting on his stomach. "Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm a new mobile gnome." This is what Jeff looks like. "Hi, Jeff," said Ollie, with a wave of his hand. "Sorry, this is a bit weird to us." "Weird to you," said Jeff. "Try spending days in total darkness waiting to be unboxed." The mobile gnome looked around. "What's this? A teenager's bedroom? Great. I was hoping to be picked up by a millionaire, some captain of industry, or a glamorous celebrity. But kids, it is. I can't wait to deliver endless messages about how homework sucks, or how some terribly dull image is lows." The gnome lifted his right thumb. It was a lot bigger than his other fingers. "I guess this thumbs up is going to get a lot of views in the next few months." "Wait," said Ollie. "Did you just say you could deliver messages?" "Obviously," said Jeff, who seemed annoyed at Ollie's lack of mobile gnome knowledge. "That is one of my core features, fastest delivery yet." "Could you send a message to Earth?" asked Ollie. "I can take a message to anyone if you give me their name," replied Jeff. "Take?" asked Ollie. "Yes, take," said Jeff. "How else do you expect the message to get somewhere?" "Well," said Ollie, "satellite networks and 5G? I'm not exactly sure how it works. Radio signals or something." "I don't know what any of that gobbledygook is," said the gnome. "The way I work is very simple. Just tell me the message. I'll run to wherever you need it delivered, and I'll run back to you." "Wouldn't that take ages?" asked Ollie. "Look, Sonny," said a visibly fed up Jeff, "why don't you leave the mobile gnoming to me and take care of whatever it is you kids do these days?" And I'm going to stop reading here. But you can tell Jeff is not the friendliest or most helpful of mobile gnomes.
He's not really, and you need a friendly gnome. Let's face it. So Thiago, okay, here we go. We're going to bring everyone back in a minute. So this is your contribution. Helper or godly guide? Any thoughts?
Yes, I think the helper should be an unhelpful, unwilling snake with wings.
Unhelpful, unwilling snake. That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Okay, here we go. Our myth mashup finale. Let's bring everyone back. Okay, epic. Okay, so listen, it's been a great show. Thank you all so much for being on. But we're going to go through. So what I'll do is I'll remind everyone watching of the hero, and then we go through, and then Claire obviously can remind us of the quest, Ash of the magical object, Ross of the obstacle danger, Amy of the twist, and Thiago of the helper and godly guide, which just came up, just what you need in life. Okay, so the hero that we all came up with for our myth mashup. He was small. He was good at swimming. He was afraid of magic. He doesn't want to fly, but he does have a tail. What's the quest he goes on, Claire, or she goes on?
They go on a quest for the nectar of the gods, the most delicious elixir in the world that may or may not confer immortality.
Okay, and what magical object do they have to help them on their way, Ash?
They have the sword Excalibur.
That's good.
That might be like a lightsaber sound. Or so was the sword sound.
That's very good. Okay, Ross, what's the obstacle or the danger that our hero has to face?
That would be the cloud giants.
The cloud giants. They're bad news. Okay, very bad news. Amy, what's the twist we have in our story?
The person they thought was on their side isn't.
Fantastic. And finally, a reminder again, what is the helper or godly guide that our hero has with them?
So this is not in the program, but I drew everything you guys were saying. So here's a hero. It's got his tail. That's Excalibur. That's the nectar. Those are the cloud giants. That's the friend that turns out to be not the friend anymore. And this is the unhelpful snake who's advising our kind of winning hero not to drink the nectar because he thinks something really wrong is going to happen.
Awesome. We get a round of applause. That's really, really good. See what you can do creating your own worlds in your classrooms and at home children, just like that we've all done today as well. We're just going to, we've got a question we kind of answered, but it was just, it was 2 schools together. Anything you might be able to add to this as well. So Spalding St. Paul's Primary School, Moulton, and Penkridge Middle School in Staffordshire, thank you. How do you come up with and develop a monster for your story? Well, we've kind of shown you how to sort of develop certain things. Anything else you could add that children could sort of either draw or think about that they could add to the story? So let's have a quick answers to that. So Ash, anything particularly they could come up with to develop a monster?
What I do sometimes is that I write a list of mythological creatures, so phoenix, dragon, unicorn, and then I write a list of real creatures, horse, giraffe, axolotl, whatever it is, and then I think about combining 2 or 3 of these together, and then I draw. I do a lot of drawing.
Great idea. Great idea. Okay, Ross, any thoughts?
I think just to echo what we said earlier on, if you've got a bad guy who believes they are right, then it adds that edge to them and it makes them really sort of, it makes them more dangerous almost. Sometimes they have what they think are good intentions, but it doesn't turn out that way. So
brilliant. Okay, Amy, anything you can add to developing a monster for the children listening, watching?
Add a weak spot, whether that's a physical one or an emotional one. A weak spot is good.
Yeah, they've always got a weak spot. Okay, Claire?
Well, the ancient Greeks, if in doubt, give it extra heads, I think. Great,
That's always a good one. And finally, Thiago.
I think we always think about what things look like, but I also think it's quite cool to think about what they do. So I think powers that you can see is a good one for monsters. So like Medusa can turn, she's got all the snakes in the head, but she can turn people into stone. Chimeras can kind of blast fire or something. So I think it's quite cool to think about what can they do as much as what do they look like.
Brilliant. Thank you for your question. And that is the end of today's myth mashup finale. Leaves me to say a huge thanks to all my guests today, to Thiago, to Amy, to Ross, to Ash, to Claire. Any last words that you'd like to leave the children watching with, or messages of encouragement, or just goodbye will do? Thiago, anything you'd like to say?
Well, no, look, I hope these stories sound fantastic. I want to read all of your guys' books. So I think, it's brilliant to see myths being retold and turned into things that are kind of closer to our world today. So it's all that stuff is amazing. So and thanks for listening. We've been here for a while. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you for listening, and have fun with your imagination and see what you can find there.
That's brilliant, Claire.
The golden fleece at the end of the day is basically just a rug. I think what quests often teach us is that life's all about the journey, and it's all about what you learn along the way. I think that's what quests are all about.
Fantastic. Ash.
So lovely to be here, and just keep telling stories.
That's great. And finally, Ross.
Yeah, we spoke about portals earlier on, and I think books are portals, and I think there's one out there for everyone. So if you haven't found your portal yet, keep looking for it, because it will take you somewhere magical, and you probably never look back.
That's brilliant. Let's give each other a big round of applause. Thank you very much to you all. Thanks very much, Amy. Thank you very much. And Ross and Ash, thank you very much. And Claire, thank you very much. And Thiago, thank you very much. Weren't they wonderful? Brilliant bunch of guests. We've gone over time today, but plenty in there for your inspiring your own stories, inspiring your own writing, and inspiring your own life, really, as well. My name's Mr. Dilly. You've been watching Mr. Dilly's Gods, Monsters, and Epic Adventures. And it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from me. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.